what I learned when I multiplied my net worth. In my previous video, I spoke about multiplying your net worth using the Bitcoin halving, but in this video, I'm going to talk about what I learned when I multiplied my net worth, because having multiplied my net worth by probably 10 to 15, if not more, over the last maybe 2 years, I have learned a lot of things in the Bitcoin space and in the market and how all of this stuff works. So I'm just going to try and pass that on to you in the core concepts of what I actually learned, because I think that's going to be able to help you the most. Because when you are investing in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and whatever else, even if you're investing in stocks, a lot of these same principles apply that you may not know when you're just starting out. Because what's actually important is to remember that a lot of this news that is sent out to you via social media or via any news outlet is just short term. It doesn't really matter over the long term. And supply and demand and what is actually happening at basic fundamental level is going to be way more important over the long term. If you're focused constantly on this short term news and how it is going to affect your portfolio of whatever you have, you're constantly going to be stressed and thinking about, what should I do? What actions should I take to have the best potential to increase my net worth, or however you want to think about it. But these things are not important, because if you are always thinking about what do I need to do, you're going to be selling what you are holding probably very likely early and too early. Because when you have investments and when you have cryptocurrency or Bitcoin that I focus on, when you're not buying it, the only other thing you can do when you're just doing a buy and hold strategy is just sell it. That's the only other thing that there is to do. And if you're constantly thinking about what should I do here, what actions should I take depending on this news that's coming out, you're probably going to go and sell it too early. So I wouldn't be thinking about this news that is in the media or whatever it is, because what I saw there recently is this news that was put out about the FOMC meeting. And now, if you don't know what the FOMC meeting is, it's just where the Federal Reserve in America meet to decide whether they're going to raise or lower the interest rates for loans in America. And at the moment, America is in a high interest rate environment, and that affects the world economy or the global economy. And most countries sort of follow what America does in a lot of ways. So if you look at the FOMC meeting news, that just happened there recently. The FOMC meeting was just there the other day. I don't know when you're watching this video, but it was just there recently. And they decided not to change the interest rate at the meeting. And Jerome Powell, who is just the chair of the Federal Reserve, he gave a speech and he announced that they weren't going to change it. Now, this affects the market in a lot of ways, because if they lower the interest rate, that means that more people are going to be taking out loans. And if more people are taking out loans, then more money will be introduced into the system, into the market. This money will then filter down and it will end up buying assets such as Bitcoin, and Bitcoin price will go up then. Like, that is sort of a wide angle view of what the Federal Reserve interest rate FOMC meeting, how it affects Bitcoin. But I just wouldn't be worried about it, because this news will pass along with all the other news. And what happened with this news is that the news was put out into the media, and then shortly after, Bitcoin has begun to fall, because people probably do not feel as positive about the market, because they might have been expecting the Federal Reserve to go ahead and lower interest rates, and they thought, the Bitcoin price is going to go up a lot after the Federal Reserve decide to lower the interest rates. But as I say, that's not what happened. Eventually, they will lower the interest rates. As we know, as you may know, Donald Trump is putting pressure on the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell at the moment to lower interest rates, because he's looking at the interest rates of the European Union. He can see that they are a lot lower than America. He's putting pressure on Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve to go ahead and lower interest rates. But he can't force them to do that because he is not connected to the Federal Reserve in that way where he can make the decisions. The decisions will be with Jerome Powell and the other members of the Federal Reserve as to whether they want to lower or increase the interest rate. So at the moment, they have decided not to change the interest rate, and Donald Trump was not happy about that. He went on to social media, Truth Social, and he was talking about how this was terrible and it was a bad decision. And he was saying that Jerome Powell is too late and all of this type of stuff. But again, the decision is not in his hands. It is in the decision is in the hands of the Federal Reserve. All of this information got to do with the FOMC meeting, the interest rates. People are thinking about Bitcoin in relation to this news that is coming out on a daily basis or a weekly basis. But what I am telling you is that to multiply your net worth over the long term, you don't need to be thinking about this news. Anyone could say something, a famous person who may even have no connection to the market. They might say something and you might get worried about your investments or your portfolio, and you go ahead and take an action that wasn't in your plan. The best thing to do is just to make a plan long term for your investments and for your portfolio, because if you have a plan long term and you can see, okay, I'll do this at this point and maybe I'll wait 6 months and then I'll take this action. That's going to be a very logical decision. And logical decisions are going to be way better over the long term when you are investing. Emotional decisions never do well in investing. That's just not what you need to do. People who are emotional in their investments do not do well, because that just means that anyone could say anything and that is going to affect your decision. When you are trying to multiply your net worth, be able to detach yourself from the news that is being sent out on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and it's telling you things that are great and telling you things that are terrible, or you perceive them to be good or bad. It doesn't matter. They are not brilliant. They are not terrible. It's just news. This does not affect things like the Bitcoin halving. And I spoke about that in the previous video. And the Bitcoin halving and supply rate and all of this stuff will be the same, regardless of what anyone says, or regardless even of if Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve decide to raise interest rates or lower them. It doesn't matter. Sometimes it's possible that something could happen in the market where you say, okay, I can see that something here that I wasn't planning has actually changed, and it has provided a fantastic opportunity to do something like buy an asset that I wasn't planning on buying. And if you can see that there is a great opportunity in buying or selling, if you have some experience and it's not just an emotional decision, the correct decision is not going to be one where you got emotional on a random day of the week at a random time that you weren't planning for. Again, a good idea is to get a sheet of paper when you are planning a long-term investment strategy and just write down a couple of bullet points as to what you're planning on doing. And then the bullet points will be based on logical information and based on research. You might have read a book, you might have watched a podcast, or you might be listening to videos like this. But logical decisions are going to multiply your net worth. Emotional decisions are not. This is just something I think you should remember, and something that is going to help you multiply your net worth over the next couple of years.